Welcome to the Modern Titus 2 Women Unplugged podcast, where we dive fearlessly into the untold stories and struggles of women's lives. This is a space of authenticity where no topic is off limits. Each episode is a journey of discovery and empowerment, confronting challenges with honesty and vulnerability. From maintaining a home to healing from abuse, balancing motherhood with personal passions, and navigating single parenting, widowhood, divorce, and post-abortion heartbreak, we explore it all. With special guests offering wisdom and perspective, we uncover forgiveness and reignite love in marriage. Join us for soul-stirring conversations. Tune in. Your story matters.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, health, tax, professional advice. We're not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from the use of this podcast. This podcast is not intended to replace professional medical advice. The views expressed in this podcast may not be those of the host or the management. This podcast may contain adult themes, so parental discretion is advised. As part of our mention, where we seek resources and support to help women thrive. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce today's guest, a powerful voice, a thought leader, and an author who is changing the narrative around Black masculinity. Jihad Youssef is the author of Empowering the Perfect You, Self-Improvement Tips for Black Men in the Era of Rejected Masculinity, a profound work that challenges societal stereotypes and uplifts the voices and experiences of Black men. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
How you doing? Thank you.
I, I,
Glad to be here.
if you want to expand on whatever on the introduction that I gave you, you can. If there's anything you figure that you want the audience to know about you.
I mean, it was a great introduction. Author, Black fatherhood enthusiast, youth coach, and I've been I'm in the trucking industry by occupation and career. Been in the trucking industry for 31 years, accident free. Um, Smith System certified Smith System instructor. We got to keep our highways safe.
Mhm.
And like you said, just my mission and my goal is to just change the narrative of how the Black man is viewed as far as a father, his masculinity, his figure, his presence, and his role in society.
Okay, so we have some questions here, so we're going to dive in. So, what inspired you to write this book, and why do you think now is the right time for it to be released?
What really inspired me to write the book was um, just the wrong image, the wrong representation that I see in the medium, in movies, commercials, the narrative. If you was to ask a random individual, how would they define the Black man? It probably would be everything that we are not. Now, while we are in the year 2024, the world is different. It's not the Black community and the Black man himself is just not he's not a monolithic character. We come in, different packages. We have different upbringings, different values, interests, and principles. But he is a masculine man. He is, embraced in his heterosexuality. I know, that's something that's diminishing. He is a problem solver. He is a good father. He is a protector. He is a provider. And what the system has done, because I can never leave out the system of white supremacy, the component of racism. What the system intentions to do is to make him look dysfunctional, underachieving, docile, unintelligent, goofy, silly, laughing, dancing. While we do have these in our community and everything does require balance, the true essence of a Black man is one who was upright, correct, truthful, just, and kind and loving towards all people.
Yes, that's deep. That's very deep. And as you correctly say that we've been stereotyped. The men have been stereotyped. Well,
Yes.
Black people in general has been stereotyped. If you want to be technical about it,
Yes,
you
indeed,
know,
without a doubt.
yeah, to to um to portray as if we're not intelligent, we have only can do substandard work, for persons who think certain things are substandard. So I appreciate the book that you have there to let people know that we are intelligent, to let them know that we have a place right beside everybody else. We're not underneath their feet, we're not above them, but guess what? We're right beside them. So
Indeed.
so how do you define rejected masculinity, and why it is particularly relevant in Black men today?
How do I define rejection? Is a black man's wisdom and his knowledge and his direction is not respected, especially of his own kind, his children, his woman. Um, and I was just saying, I was just talking to a coach friend of mine yesterday, because I am a coach. I've been in the coaching field for a long time. For some strange reason, black kids don't listen to black coaches more so or faster and quicker than will a white counterpart, white male, white female. And so, again, he has been made to reject of society. He's made to look like he's unintelligent. Um, when a black man says something, it's an opinion. When a white man says something, it's fact. So his ideas and his vision and his role, the way he sees it and how he would do, like to do things for his family and his children is rejected. A lot of our people in our community have been taught that it's toxic masculinity. I don't know what toxic masculinity is. I know what toxic behaviors are, but I would never go along
Mm-hmm.
with the description of toxic masculinity. And a lot of times, people define masculinity as being rejected as far as discipline. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
discipline, standing firm on your morals, standing firm on your values, interests, and principles, because society is changing, and there's an idea and a thought that that's the old way of thinking, that's the old way of doing things. But there are a lot of black men who stand strong and firm on old school principles, the way they raise their children, the way they want to treat a woman, and how they carry about themselves. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. If we're going to be transparent on this podcast, I would say 7 out of 10 black women in Atlanta, Georgia, they embrace gay men more than they do a heterosexual man. And it's like a lot of times if I'm out in public or if I'm in a social setting, just to even speak and be kind, or even just the interaction is not the same as it would be a man of a different persuasion, or if he's kind of like got beta like characteristics, or he's a little bit more feminine, he's more embraced. So, and then a lot of times too, raising children nowadays, sometimes they feel like you're being too hard, or one time a mother told me, when it came to coaching, she said the way that we coach is intense. She said that's that black man shit. But her child went to a D1 college, and the child went for a legendary coach that's known to Yale, a white male. But it was like, we love him, he's a great man. So there's a double standard. So his masculinity is rejected because it's no longer relevant in society. And again, I have to go back and contribute that to a lot of presentations on movies, commercials, just society altogether. Just the image, the presence, and narrative
Mm-hmm.
makes him look like he's incapable, docile, and unaware. And you asked a question earlier, why now? Is because right now, Dr. Umar Johnson is a guy that I listen to from time to time. While I don't agree with everything that he said something years ago that struck with me. There is an extermination campaign to eliminate the heterosexual masculine black male. Now, a lot of people laugh when he said that, but as we look into society today, if you do find a black man who stands strong, he's demonized, he's vilified, but it's not many of us left. It's not a lot of us left. And if you look at the state of young black males that are coming up, they are a far cry from the black man of yesteryear and yesterday, which a lot of people say is obsolete, like a dinosaur, and is no longer necessary.
You're so right with that, because with my grandson, we make it we make it a point of duty to let him be a gentleman. When we approach the car, he goes and he opens the door for us to go in.
Yes.
You know, we have to
Yes.
we have to teach them also, because basic manners and courtesy is like it's not existent anymore.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have
Yes.
to we as mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles and grandparents, we have to put these values back into them.
Yes.
Yes, yes. In your book you discuss the systematic issues affecting Black men. What do you believe are the most pressing systematic challenges that they face today?
Well, a lot of my inspiration and a lot of things that I stand on, I speak on in my writings. First of all, my first teacher, my two greatest teachers was my mother and my father. I learned a lot about just society and social justice and the history of the Black Civil Rights Movement from my father. I was educated young. This was something that was cultured in me, and I'm so grateful for it. But I also too contribute a lot of my inspiration to Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, the late Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, the author of the ISIS Papers, and Neely Fuller Jr., who is the author of the United Independent Compensatory Counter-Racist Code. And he says, and I'm trying to wrap this up to answer the question, so I'm trying to give context. He has one of the greatest quotes ever. If you do not understand white supremacy, racism, what it is and how it works, and everything else that you understand will only confuse you. And what he talks about is that the non-white people in the concept called America are mistreated in all 9 areas of people activities, which is economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. I would say, to answer your question, the most direct impact that Black men are facing is economics. Economics is time and energy, but we also do understand that economics is also dealing with financial wherewithal to be able to be function to take care of a family. And as long as Black men don't own or create a lot of jobs, I understand there are a lot of Black entrepreneurs. A lot of people, are starting their own businesses. However, the resources that it takes to have a successful business, the marketing that it takes to have a successful business, these things are still gate kept at those who will be considered white supremacists, not white people, because they're not one and the same. So I would think that's one of the most pressing factors, and along with uh, just politics, which is the politics according to the code, is just simply the way that people relate and interact with one another. So I just think economics and political leverage is one of the biggest things pressing because, we have to change things at the political level first with political structures. Some policies need to be changed and some need to be put in place.
Right, right. You mentioned the importance of self-discovery. How can Black men begin their journey, especially in the environments that may not support it? How can they do that?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
First things first, you have to identify that you're not healthy mentally in a lot of ways. You must identify what the teachings, early childhood teachings. A lot of people have not made a decision to unlearn what they have learned. Number one, you're not getting the results out of life, so you have to first identify this first. And then once you identify this, you have to get in a quiet space. You have to separate from hanging out with friends. If you have negative behaviors, whether it's drinking or smoking, or you have to change the habit, but you got to get in a quiet space. You have to begin to become in tune with self. You have to be honest. You have to have a real hardcore, honest evaluation of yourself. And a lot of times, which is a struggle with a lot of Black men, that's hard to do, is to finally realize we're not the man that we think that we are or we should be. So getting in that quiet space, thinking, meditating, and starting to take on new habits to improve, to self-improve, to do the work.
Mhm.
And once you begin to do the work, life does begin to change. The way you view life begins to change. The people you would, friends begin to fall off. People see you making self-improvements. They see you take life seriously. So that's the first step right then and there, because we live in a hostile environment as Black men. And that I know we always see on TV of Black people killed at the hands, unarmed Black people killed at the hands of, according to the code, not a police officer, but a race soldier. The discrimination in the workforce, the bludgeoning and the acts of violence committed on Black children every day they go to school behind prison walls. It is your responsibility and duty as a man to become aware and conscious of this, do the self-improvement to help deal with your family, your children, the lady of your life, wife, better half, or whatever that is. It's just getting in this quiet space and identifying the issues that you have within yourself.
Right. The book discusses the pursuit of truth, true purpose. How can one distinguish between societal expectation and their authentic purpose?
Wow, that's a great question. And I just thought about this 2 days ago because I think a lot. How one discovers their true purpose is exactly what you just said. You have to sit and think, what is your passion? What are you good at that you don't even need to read a book to achieve?
Mhm.
What is something that you would do for free? We all have an assignment, right? So And that comes in different ways. Like some people are good at math, some people are good at construction, some people are good at putting things together, some people are good at working on a car, some people are good at working on a house. Once you find out what that is, you use whatever gifts and talents that God has given you to solve whatever problems that are impacting you within close proximity. I say on my own show, I have a saying that we bring it sexy back to the everyday hard-working men and women who impact your life within close proximity. We want to rise above this madness, which is called Black culture. So what I mean when I say that is the everyday people that should be heroes are not athletes, are not rappers, are not movie stars. These are people who are working the medical field, the EMTs, good upstanding police officers, firefighters, your doctors, people who can come and work on your house, plumbers, electricians. These are the everyday superheroes that impact our lives. Now, when I say rising above Black culture, what I mean is if you was to ask anybody what is Black culture, the average Black person might tell you, well, dancing, singing, and playing ball, but that has nothing to do with countering and fighting for justice to exist in the system over white supremacy. So what that is your passion is just something that your purpose is something that you're passionate about, because everybody has something that they draw to more than the other. Everybody has something that means to them something more than others. Some guys, like I find fishing boring, but there are people out there who love the fish. So if that man loves the fish, you take the youth in your community, you teach them how to fish and how to live off the land. There's some guys out there, like just an example. I went into a McDonald's not too long ago. There were old guys playing chess. I wanted to learn how to play chess. But you had certain guys who played chess on a tournament level who taught these things for a reason. Now, I know you might say like chess is not much of a magnitude, but it served the purpose for me to teach me. So everybody has an assignment. But once they realize what that passion is, that is your assignment to solve problems in that area. Whatever gives, whatever drives you, that's your passion.
I agree with you there. I think that all of us come with a purpose. We just don't come here to just exist one day and then we're gone tomorrow. We're here for a purpose. We're here with an assignment that is given to us. So it's for us to realize what our assignment is and to pursue it.
Yes.
So that's what I think about that part there. Can you, in your experience, what are the most significant misconceptions about Black masculinity that need to be challenged?
Oh man, that Black masculinity is gay and homosexual, and this is nothing against the LGBT community. That is not who we are. Now that is a part of our community. I embrace my homosexual brothers. I do. I have no hate for anybody, whether regardless of political affiliations, sexual orientation, religion. But the biggest misconception is that we are just all homosexual. We are all goofy. We all like to put on makeup and rock heels. We're all emotionally unintelligent, and that is the furthest thing from the truth. And so the thing about it is, just sometimes just to see a movie with a Black man in leadership, a Black man who is looked upon as sexy and solving problems and is intelligent and battling all the forces of the universe is almost zero to none, right? Unless you watch a Denzel Washington movie. So I'm just simply here to dispel the myth about who society wants us to be. They have re-imaged the Black man in 2024. And the sad part about it is our community has bought into it. Mainly a lot of Black women have signed on to the redefinition and the re-imaging of the Black man. That is not who we are. Again, you can't just say this is the essence of a Black man, because, we're compartmentalized in different ways as men, just like all men of ethnicities. But the standard for a Black man is going to always be one who is upstanding, right? One who is correct, one who is one for the community, to deal with the children, to be a part of the village to raise the children, one who solves problems, one who is calm, one who is a thinker, one who reads books, one who is conscious of his health and what he eats, one who loves his woman and won't put his hands on her or call her the B word, you understand? Or one who decides to listen to music and not noise, just a cultured individual, because every other ethnicity that you see in society, whether it be movies or in public, this is the perception and the idea of them. The Black man must come back to who he is. First of all, it's on him to reimage himself, because we can't depend on the networks to do it. They're never going to do it. But in everyday life and everyday reality, it is every man's responsibility. Like, You know how they say, show up as who you are. Regardless if you know what I'm saying? Like I said, you got black men of all different lifestyles, but show up who you are as an individual, as an upstanding individual. Because, even homosexual men can be masculine. Let me say that right there. Because a lot of times when people say I'm masculine, there's a lot of homosexual men masculine. And the reason why I really talk a lot about that is because that is the main thing that is being projected as far as the image and the vision of a black man. And while I'm saying that there are homosexual men in our community, a lot of black men are not homosexual. All right. And a lot of us, and it's like it's demonized now. If you're a straight man, it's like there was a time somebody joked about it, but we're here at that point where if you are a straight man, you are the villain. So I'm saying that this is who we are amongst any other part that society wants to portray us. This is who we are in our natural essence.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, with the advent of COVID, we noticed that people have been isolated or were isolated, and some people remain isolated because even the male before COVID, people used to go out and play dominoes. If you're in a Caribbean environment, you do stuff like that, or men do men things together. But because of COVID, they were isolated, and some have remained isolated. So, how important is it for Black men to build and maintain meaningful support connections? And what advice do you have for those struggling in that area?
Yeah, well, you really asked you have great questions. I used to be one of those guys. A buddy of mine said, hey, guys got to get together and we need to support one another. And of course, now let me say this: the reason why I talk a lot about self-improvement. I haven't always been who I am today, and I consider this a toxic behavior to say, oh, we don't need therapy. We're men. We can chalk it up. Okay, so I used to be him. But when he mentioned that we need to get together, speak one another, and uplift one another, I thought it was corny. Then when certain things begin to happen in my life, because when you deal with depression, a lot of times people don't even know they're depressed. If you define depression, it is very critical because you don't know, like COVID, you don't know who's suffering in silence. You don't know who's suffering alone. And symbolically, even though COVID physically put us in isolation and out of the public's view, the black man is still he's still out of public view. He's still, he's still in isolation. So it's very critical that we get together with one another to have positive, constructive communication. And what that looks like is we don't all get together and just say, hey man, where the women at? Or let's go to let's go kick it or let's go do something not constructive. That's not what I'm talking about. When we come together in conversation, first of all, we're going to talk about how we're feeling. Are we okay? Are you eating? Do you need a job? How can we help uplift you? We want to pull you up out of what you're dealing with. Second of all, after we establish these things and can move forward, now we want to talk about what can we do to improve in our lives and in our community, solving problems. Do we all want to come together and make an investment? Somebody in the group knows something about money. And what can we do to invest in something all together as a group? Or, what I'm saying? What's an idea to take a trip, a solo trip, a retreat? What did you do to pull yourself up out of this? Or just ways to help heal yourself mentally. And also I do recommend that, you get professional counseling and therapy, which I have a take on that as well too. But that's what we need to talk about. It is very necessary. It is very necessary to hear from one another as a group to uplift one another. It is absolutely necessary.
And if I could add to that, I would think that sometimes, well, a lot of women are complaining that the men aren't speaking to them. Not just okay. They're not sharing the true feelings with them. You ask them if how they are, they say okay, and they're not okay. They're not okay. They don't want to open up. So one of the things that women struggle with is why aren't the men speaking to us? Why why they don't want to share? And some persons that I've spoken to, they said that one of the problems is that with the women is that when they tell them anything deep and secret and that only you and them know, when they get into conversation or some form of argument, they take it and throw it in their face. So they don't want to talk to them anymore and they don't share anything with them anymore. So it's important for them to find a safe space, if it's with their men company, that they can express the feeling, a safe place that they can talk about what is really going on with them, since they're not speaking to the woman. But we really want them to speak to us. We really want them to share, share with us,
Boy, I'm loving this conversation. Your questions are so engaging. Thank you. That is very true. I no longer I could be honest on your show, right?
The only thing I don't like, I just have for no expletive or anything like that. But
Oh yeah, no,
yeah.
no. I don't get down with that.
Mm-hmm.
I have lost so much confidence. I have lost. That's true. I would not. I refuse to open up to a black woman because this has happened time and time again. And when I was going through my depression, when I was going through some things, you have to understand, black men, we're intense. Like, I don't know if you've ever been around us when we talk about sports. We get intense.
I know.
I've not when I was going through what yeah, right. When I was going through what I was going through, every single black woman I reached out to told me that I was angry. They told me that my tone was aggressive. They told me that I needed to deal with it. None of them embraced me or what I had to say. They couldn't receive it. And I needed that at that time. This is what woke me up from coming out. This is what really woke me up when I was a part of the quote unquote conscious community, the pro black power movement and all that. This is when I found out it was all BS, and I came up out of that. So I console with other brothers that I know that understand. Now, let's be clear. There are men that you share stuff with in confidence that will throw it in your face. Yes, if they feel like they help you out. So I don't want to just liken that to the women.
Yeah,
but the reason why women are important to us as black men. Now I'm talking science. See, the black man is one, going back to what you said earlier, he's not respected. He's not seen as intelligent or a leader. If we don't have our woman in our corner, who do we got? And that's why so many men and women are at odds and at war. And a lot of times you have abusive relationships where it comes to domestic violence. Because the black man, he can't whoop that white man, so he'll whoop that black woman, right? You know, a black woman submitting to him is something that he feels like that makes him somebody, that makes him relevant, that makes him feel like, he's somewhat of a king. And a lot of times the women are not there because, let's just keep it real, a lot of black men have disappointed a lot of black women in our responsibilities and duties in the last 10 to 15 years in the community. The roles, things have changed. Men are not what they used to be. So I understand that resentment. And I understand why sometimes when we need to speak a private word, it's only valued in the moment. It could be because we're getting along, everything's financially good. But when things do go awry, it has always been thrown in our face. Now, I'm not going to say that's in everybody's reality, but the majority of black men that you talk to, they will tell you that the very woman that they share the secret with and we're vulnerable with, that's if they even listen to them and understand. Because a lot of women have told me, hey, man, you're a man, chalk it up and get back out there in the street, right? Or you're criticized or ridiculed if you're getting therapy and counseling as if you're weak or, feeble or like you can't deal with your own problems. And this has been the case. So that's why we're not talking. And a lot of black men have subconscious resentment towards black women because when you look at black men in the system, and I'm going to say this and I'm going to end the question with this. When you look at the black men who are in the system, it was a black woman that put them there.
Well, I don't know enough about that to really say yay or there.
I can explain.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of black women say protect black women. They're speaking to the context of physical harm done upon their body by black men. And this is the reality. This is true. A lot of black women are being killed at the hands of a black man. So, they're like, protect black women at all costs and blah, blah, blah. Let's understand that a lot of women choose these abusive men, right? So first you must protect yourself. But when you look at the legalities of it, whether it's divorce, child support, call the police, whatever the case may be, if he's in anger management, whatever the case may be, that was at the hands of the woman in his life or the women around him that put him in that system. So now he's dealing with things financially And then financial situations affect his mental health. And when you're angry, when you're broke, when you're dependent, when you're struggling, you're not thinking clear. But that component that puts you there, it puts anger in your heart. It makes you resistant to want to talk. It makes you resistant to want to respect him. It makes you resistant to want to even be in a relationship with him anymore. And I had to make that point because I want us to understand clearly why these things do exist in our community amongst black men and black women. So a lot of times, men who have taken the chance to be vulnerable, because that's really what we're looking for, vulnerability amongst each other as far as black men and black women. And when that trust is violated and it's thrown back in your face, that's a signed, sealed, and delivered deal that you may never get again.
Well, if we're failing, the thing about it is that, as you correctly say, we are supposed to be your ride or die. We're supposed to be the one that supports you when you're falling. We're there to comfort you. We're there to cheer you on. So, what if you aren't speaking to us? Who are you speaking to? What where are you sharing all these things, these emotional things that are happening to you? Where you're just bottling it up, we have a serious problem because all of us need someone that we can share with. All of us need our place, that a place of safety, whether it's an online group or something, that we can be our authentic self. We can speak about what is really going on with us. And as you correctly say, also I come from a Caribbean background, and we don't, we don't like to go to therapy. We don't like to do anything that had to do with a a mental status, because it is, as you correctly say, it is frowned upon as being weak and something wrong with you, that sort of thing. So we have that cultural aspect of it to deal with also.
I would say outlets. Outlets, hitting the gym. I know I play basketball maybe 3 to 4 times a week with my peers, my group. Some guys go to the gun range. Some guys take up boxing classes. Some guys stay in social. Some guys like to hit the bars. You just find the outlet. If you can't talk, you got to find a way to compensate, but you got to get it out. And if you can't talk to a woman, find you the proper therapist and clinical therapist for you that you agree with, one that you think understands you, and that can open up. That's what I say. If you can't talk to your woman, there's always options. There's always somebody out there that you respect and how to respect you that will never throw it back up in your face. So if it's not a woman or your better half that you can talk to, there is somebody for all of us that can reach out to and just say, hey man, I just need to rap with you, need to talk to you. So, but outlets, if they don't talk, it's definitely outlets.
Okay. So this is a segue to that. So another question I have: what role does spirituality or sense of higher purpose play in the journey of self-improvement for Black men? Spirituality, the role of spirituality, a sense of a higher purpose. How does that play in the journey of your self-improvement for Black men?
Everything is supposed to have it's supposed to have it's supposed to have something that works, right? Mm-hmm. Belief should have a purpose. Just because you believe and have higher spirituality does not trigger morality. It does not trigger the way that you act. It's just something that you believe, but you got to do the work. And understanding spirituality, and we have to throw in this conversation that whatever a person's spiritual practice is, because we know we live in a world where people are Muslim, some people are Jehovah's Witness, some people are Christian, some people are Hindu, practice Buddhism, okay? Mm-hmm. Yes. That higher purpose and spirituality, as you understand it, is supposed to trigger an action of love and understanding on your behalf. Mm-hmm. Patience, peace, and kindness. How does that trigger into your purpose? This is where you get your power from. This is where you get your inner strength from. Your spirit man, you understand? Because everything is energy, right? And the way that you serve your spiritual systems is basically, and what God calls man to do is to service one another. So even though that we're discussing issues that pertain to Black men in our community. We're still a part of the human family,
Yes.
right? So this is not about being pro-Black, because I'm not pro-Black. This is not about hate for any other ethnic group besides Black people. This is about self-improvement individually. Love starts in the home and moves abroad. You make the self-improvement in yourself, and to play your own part in the constructive side of society. We're going to always have negative people. We're going to always have people who are going to do violent, rude, and evil things. But when you are challenged, when you are tried, as all of us are in our daily lives, you revert back to your spiritual systems that gives you strength. And understanding that your purpose is for you to recognize the tools and gifts are already there. But your spiritual practice and belief should trigger the proper mindset, the proper action, the proper love, correctness, truth within and amongst people, regardless of who they are, their ethnicity, political affiliation, or sexual orientation.
Yes, yes. So, how do you envision the future for Black masculinity if the principles in your book are widely adopted? The principles that you have in your book, if they're widely adopted, how do you envision the future for Black masculinity?
Relevant and progressive. We have to understand, like I tell my father, the way you parent a child in 2024 is way different than we had to parent a child in 1972 or the 80s. Where I see if people can adapt to the things that I wrote in my book, Black Men. And you know what, honestly, I think with the component when we take out racism, I think all men could benefit from the book that I've written because all men deal with the same issues. It's just that the unique thing about Black men is that we are the primary target in the system of racism. But where I see us at is thriving in all parts of society, holding positions of power in all parts of society. And we're seeing that now. So I think that we need to understand moving forward, the self-improvement, the frontier is going to look quite different. In 2024, I'm talking about rejecting masculinity. We don't know what the issue may be in 2034 or 3044. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
These works might be completely irrelevant in time. But as of right now, moving forward, I expect us, because I think that the reason why I talk about Black fatherhood more than anything else, the number one role that a man is going to play in his life is that of a father. So if we want change in our community, if you notice, when you talk to other adults, it's going to be a debate. It's going to be argument because we're grown. We're stuck in our ways. We have certain trauma bonds that we're gonna linger on in the conversation. Sometimes people get inflated egos because they're educated. Nobody wants to really listen to solve problems. So if you want to bring about change, it starts with the youth. It starts with the children, because children are going to listen. Children are influential. Children are sponges. So whatever we have to offer that people can gain from, it has to go into the child, and that's where the change begins. And if we're doing the work as men to self-improve, moving forward to the future, we should see major change in our community and our children doing great things beyond just rapping and playing ball.
Yeah. And that's a good segue into the other question. We want to talk about the importance of mentorship for black men, and how one can seek out and become a mentor. Mentorship is very important. In our society, we have a lot of single women, rearing men, and there's just some things that you can do as a woman, and there's just some things that a man has to teach a male child. So mentorship is very important. So what do you see, for the black men, and how they can seek up and become mentors for young men that are coming up?
Again, great question. I changed that word mentorship to coaching.
Okay.
We're coaches, literally. And I ain't necessarily talking about a sport. No. I'm not being combative when I say I'm changing I'm wording it differently, how I would see it, how I would put it, not to take away from what you were saying about mentorship. So I'm not like that at all. I'm a low maintenance guest. I would say we're all coaches. Whether you're teaching a sport, or whether or a kid is watching you fix a car, the way that you dress respectfully, the way that you carry yourself, good hygiene, how you talk to a woman, how you talk to your parents, how you discuss business, right? How you treat the elderly in your neighborhood.
Yes.
All of this is coaching. Mentors are coaches, and I also say too, coach. I tell a lot of guys, a lot of my young athletes that I have coached, when they get older, I'm like, hey man, look, the reality of it is you're not going pro, you know what I'm saying? You're still playing ball, but start coaching, because it builds a great bond and a great relationship. And so children are always watching. So you're a nonstop coach. You're a nonstop mentor, whether you want to agree with that or not. I remember Charles Barkley. Remember Charles Barkley had that famous commercial from Nike. I'm not a role model. Yes, you are,
Yes, yes.
because the reality of it is the things that my children watch on TV or sometimes on the cell phone, they have more influence over me. This is why it's critical to teach kids things out the gate, the proper ways of thinking, speaking, and acting. So coach. Whatever you do, make sure you're doing it the right and exact way at all times, the correct way. You're a coach. They're laying eyes on you. And if you're doing things the right way, the sign of a good coach is when that person that's watching you comes and asks you a question.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So legacy, the concept of legacy in your book, and why is it important for Black men to think about the legacy that they leave behind?
Because a lot of our history is hidden. A lot of our history is hidden. In the latter portion of the century, we've dug up so many hidden truths of Black men. There's Tariq Nasheed has a series called Hidden Colors. And he has a saying in that in his films, and it says, the deeper you dig, the blacker the planet becomes. So the importance of us is leaving our legacy is history. History. 100 years from now, there's going to be a kid that never even met you. He's not going to know about your struggles. He's not going to know about all the people that were in opposition of the goal and the thing that you set out to achieve. He won't know any of that. He'll only know the history that you left behind. And we have to leave histories of problem solving. Right now, our community, we're kind of stuck in the entertainment. We embrace entertainers. When a rapper's killed, they'll fill a whole arena, right? Or an athlete, the whole world would identify this Black athlete, this Black entertainer. But when you look at our great Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, I don't think there was 200 people at her final procession. Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, when you look at all the people in great time, with the exception of King and X, they don't honor those who set out to fight and leave, set out for the fight of justice and liberation. We don't embrace those people anymore. So it's important for us to leave history, whether it's, you came up with a new product that impacted humanity, or you came up with a new idea for a car, or an idea to make planes fly better in the sky. Whatever it is upon you to become great, to know what you're good at, and make great history. The importance of the legacy is for all Black children who will be born in the future to look back and be proud of those who came before them and what they accomplished, because guess what? They may accomplish the same thing, if not carry on that legacy.
So true. So how important is financial literacy in the empowerment of Black men, and what steps can they take to improve their financial well-being?
First of all, I would always say get an advisor, because when it comes to money, the majority of us wasn't raised to understand money and how to deal with money. But there are people, again, who are great in this area that can teach you how to invest and save money. I know my dad taught us how to save. He taught us a lot of these things, but we spent it anyway because we wanted to look fly. We wanted to have the latest shoes. I would say the first thing is discipline. Get a mentor or a coach, like I say, that knows about money, and discipline your spending habits. I think also too, we also have to be made aware of what is proper investment and what is an investment that really is invaluable. Like as of right now, what's going on in the state of the world, I tell a lot of people, why do you stay in the malls? Why are you spending money on traveling when you need to be spending money on survival components? You understand what I'm saying? With everything that's going on, like the strike going on in the port, the hurricanes that's been coming,
Yeah.
the power outages. but most people don't have it because they've been spending money on things that don't matter, unnecessary trips, always in the clubs, drinking, drinking habits, smoking habits, clothing habits, retail, when you need to be investing in things that make sense. So I think that financial literacy looks boring. It's going to have to look boring and unattractive in the community because a lot of Black people are broke because they like to look cute, or they're, buying a car off the lot. They know they can't really afford the car, or purchasing homes just for the idea of having people think that they got it. It's okay to live decent and meek until you got it like that, and save up and do right by your money. But that is very important because, again, money is not everything. I tell people all the time, I don't chase the bag, I chase health. Health, I say it in the book, your number one order, your first things in order as a Black man is your health. So you can have $7 million in the bank and be dead. You're dying in 6 months. What good is the money? So, excuse me, I'm so sorry. But financial literacy is definitely important, but I think that it takes discipline. And I also would advise people to get an advisor. So therefore we can make the money last and work for us like it's supposed to.
Yes. What are your thoughts on the future of Black masculinity in the context of evolving societal norms? The future of Black masculinity for young men that are coming up also.
I think we're going to see, this is just something that I'm hopeful for. I think we're going to see a different type of Black male whose priority is not to be a youth athlete or a professional athlete or a rapper. I think you're going to look at the next wave of young Black men. They're going to be so cerebral, mental, thinkers, innovative. Their conversations will be high intelligent conversations. I also think that you're going to see a connectivity of value for one another. All the killing and the violence upon each other. I think we're going to move into an era where we're going to see young Black men and Black men as a whole connect on the level of value for one another. That's what I think we're going to see, and I'm hopeful for this. And I think that he will make more of an impact in society. He will come up with something that is going to impact society forever and forever change the way that we operate as a people. To give you a prime example, I think the prototype of that guy exists right now. His name is Durand. He is the CEO founder of the Yummy app, and he's also an AI developer in labs. And I think he's about at the billionaire status. So he is the prototype of what we're seeing to come in the future. The way that he thinks is so unconventional. It is so different. But I know he's on fan base. I don't know about his other social handles, but when this guy talks, I listen. I'm captivated. So I think we're starting to see that paradigm shift as far as the Black male moving into the future. I think that's taking place right now.
Okay. And then our final question, because we could go on, we could go on the whole evening. The final question: if there's one key message you hope readers would take away from your book, what would it be? What is the key message you want them to take away from your book?
There is a perfect you if you do the work. There is a perfect you if you do the work. And that's overcoming ego. That's my answer.
Thank you so much. So as we come to the close of this powerful conversation, I encourage each of you to take a moment to reflect on the wisdom shared today. Whether you're at the beginning of your journey or well along the path, remember that you have the power to rise above societal pressure, to define your own success, and to leave a lasting legacy for those who come after you. To our women, stand by the men in your life as they work to reclaim their power, their voice, and their identity. Be a source of encouragement and strength. Support them as they grow, heal, and redefine what it means to be a man on their own terms. Have those hard conversations about self-worth, purpose, and legacy. Advocate for them in spaces where their voices aren't already heard, and remind them that they are loved and that they matter. So I thank you. So would you like to share with our audience how to get in touch with you about your book? We're gonna put that information in the
Yeah, I appreciate it, and that's
in
what, you know, when they go
yeah.
to, because I know a lot of times people have been buying the book off of Beacons, just empowering the perfect you, the self improvement tips for Black men and the rejecting of masculinity. I'm on IG, Jihad _, lives _ forever, and also at the Acquired Man podcast, also on IG, and on Facebook, Jihad Youssef. And if you ever want to get in contact as far as booking for speaking engagements or any other information, you can reach me at Jihad Youssef Forever. That's JIHAD YUSEF, the number 4 EVER at gmail.com. Jihad Youssef Forever.
All
Thank you for
right.
having me on tonight. I really enjoyed this.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
Thank you.